Next up is Teddy Downey, who's a Washington policy analyst for investors. So I'm like a little teared up myself here. I'm like, excuse me. Who's going to talk about the political economy of monopolies. He's a senior vice president at MF Global, but an important disclaimer, the opinions expressed here are his own and not his employer's.
All right, I'm going to try to lighten the mood up here a little bit. All right, I want to leave you with two messages today. Monopolies are back and monopolies are bad. That's monopolies are back and monopolies are bad. Unfortunately, a lot of us think about monopolies as a thing of the past. They think about Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Carnegie, Vanderbilt, and one of the reasons for this is that economists like to say that there are no more monopolies. Microsoft, they control only 90% of the market. Intel, they control only 90% of the market. But if you look at the classical definition of monopoly, does a company have sufficient power to determine the supply and pricing of some good? Then it's hard to look around the US economy and find a market that is not monopolized. Let's say you want to buy a pair of eyeglasses. So you go to LensCrafters, you look around, you want some more choice, you go to Pearl Vision maybe. You like the selection there, but you want something cheaper, so you go to Target Optical. Maybe you go to Sears Optical. And so it looks like you've got a pretty good selection for selling you glasses, but what you probably don't realize is that all of these companies are owned by one company, Luxottica, an Italian firm. And what you probably also don't realize is that a lot of the brands there, Oliver Peoples, Ray-Ban, Oakley, also owned by Luxottica. So while you think you have choice, is actually the illusion of choice. Another of my favorite examples of this type of cowboy capitalism is cowboy boots. Three biggest brands, Justin, Tony Lama, Nokono, all owned by one guy. He lives out in Omaha. His name is Warren Buffett. And so you're probably asking yourself, how do we get to this illusion of choice? At the risk of oversimplifying things, in 1981, the Reagan administration decided they wanted to reinterpret our anti-monopoly laws. And so they changed it so that instead of using those laws to protect us from the concentration of economic power, they wanted to use it to help us as consumers. So as a result, all the administrations since then have approved almost every merger that's crossed their desks, because it's a lot easier for these companies to say, I'm bigger, I'm more efficient, and I can lower the cost for the consumer. And so as a result, we used to have hundreds of department stores, thousands of discount stores, tens of thousands of department stores. We now have the names that you see here. And so we talked about why monopolies are back. I want to move on to why monopolies are bad. And monopolies are bad. Intuitively, we get a lot of the reasons that monopolies are bad. Monopolies are bullies, and bullies are bad. Monopolies price gouge, and price gouging is bad. Monopolies treat their workers, and mistreating your workers is bad. Monopolies provide a lower quality product and service. Think about Comcast. That's very, very bad. And so, and so we get intuitively a lot of the reasons why monopolies are bad. But one of the worst effects of monopolization is job destruction. When the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, Pfizer, merged with Wyeth a couple of years ago, they slashed 19,000 jobs. When the second largest pharmaceutical company in the world, Merck, merged with Schering-Plough, shortly after that deal was announced, they slashed 16,000 jobs. Economists like to call these layoffs synergies. And the kicker for these deals is that they were financed by banks that had recently been bailed out with TARP money. So the government, instead of blocking these deals, was actually subsidizing them. So another way to look at job destruction and monopolies is to think about small businesses. Good jobs in this country are created when entrepreneurs want to start new businesses and small businesses want to expand. But the problem with monopolies is that when they control large swaths of the economy, it's much harder for those small businesses and entrepreneurs to compete and to create new jobs. As a result, one recent study showed that of 22 rich nations, the US was second to last. Only Luxembourg ranked lower than us in the percentage of our workers who run their own businesses. So jobs are a big problem. Another underappreciated problem with monopolies is that they create tremendous systemic risk. When financial sector collapsed, it was in large part, pun intended, because banks were too big to fail. Far too many people look to the financial regulators when they should realize there was a failure of our anti-monopoly policy. Again, I want to reiterate my two messages. Monopolies are back, and monopolies are bad. I want to thank Barry Lynn at the New America Foundation. This presentation is largely based on his work. Please read his book, Cornered, the New Monopoly Capitalism and the Economics of Destruction. Thank you.